Hi there, I'm Tasha Weiss, and this is my senior project, Reimagining and Activating Snee-oosh Point, Holistic Design for Multi-Use Green Space. This project has been an exploration of how to best design a venue and green space economically and with an emphasis on community resilience and collaboration. To provide some context and personal significance of this site, I'll be covering a bit about how this project came to be. In my hometown of La Conner, Washington, about an hour north of Seattle, there's a beautiful spot right by the beach. The site is situated on the Skagit Bay, overlooking Kicket, Hope, and Whidbey Island. Over the years, it became a special spot to take walks, spend time with friends and family, and relax. For years, part of the site had been an abandoned inn with a charming overgrown garden. The Hope Island Inn had been there since the 1940s, operating as a restaurant and events venue. Over time, however, it became run down and the prior tenant's lease expired, leaving the land and structure to be turned over to the Snee-oosh Land Company, a community corporation ran by a board which is comprised of community members in the neighborhood. The building, having been in a state of deterioration, was then demolished and the garden subsequently cut down and covered with grass. After the site had been sitting like this for a few years, occasionally rented out for venues, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for a reimagining. Upon reaching out to the Snee-oosh Land Company, who owns the land, they explained that they had also had plans to begin a redesign, so they were thrilled at the idea of me taking this on. These are some of the current site conditions. The main features of this site include a boat launch, a tennis court, the portico entrance, the viewpoint lookout deck, and the beach club building. Broadly speaking, the board of directors were interested in a planting plan, designs for the viewpoint lookout deck, and generally wanted to see how this could be improved to be better fit for a venue rental, as well as a community meeting space. In many ways, they wanted to explore all of the possibilities of what the site could be, which gave me flexibility in what I could create. As I went into this research process, I wanted to highlight native biodiverse planting that is appropriate for coastal green space and universal design used in landscaping. Additionally, I was interested in how community members can implement landscaping changes in shared spaces as well as collectively manage them. Pollinator-supportive planting techniques are an integral part of biodiversity and ecosystems and lead to direct societal and environmental impacts. Native plants and their co-evolutionary history with pollinators show us that when landscaping, incorporating native plants will give us better support to pollinators than other non-native species. Research even shows that roughly 1/3 of bee species will only collect pollen from particular native plants, and most butterflies and moth caterpillars can only feed on particular plant leaves. Being at the cross-section of a saltwater bay, an undesignated wetland, and residential lots, the designed ecology of Snee-oosh Point will imminently affect its surroundings. Working towards a planting scheme that rules out the need for pesticides could be a part of the effort towards a cleaner bay. Additionally, planned landscapes have the potential to be self-maintained or be in constant conflict with invasive plants and weeds. The planting choices that I've developed aim to minimize time spent maintaining the site. The research I conducted resulted in a detailed planting list to give to the Snee-oosh Land Company of pollinator-supportive, salt-tolerant native plants. This list includes ground cover, perennials, grasses, and grass-like plants, as well as shrubs and canopy. The plant palette also includes visual representations of bloom and fruit time, and I wanted to really allow for residents in the neighborhood to be a part of choosing how these colors and plants would be arranged, and thought a clear chart like this would help them easily explore options. To further illustrate this, I created some sectional views of potential planting combinations that included ground cover, subcanopy, and canopy. For the plan view of the site, the key changes I made to the site included accessible pathways, added seating, partially removed pavement, trees for privacy, community building hubs, a formal parking lot, and additional planting drifts and masses. The first design change I would like to bring to your attention is the pavement removal, added planting drifts and masses, and the seating. Prior to the changes, the pavement went all the way up to the portico entrance structure. But since the pavement is buckling in many areas and run down, I thought this would be a good chance to depave part of the lot and add a more welcoming entrance. To better communicate the feeling I wanted to elicit in the site, I painted a visual representation of what the entrance to the site could look like. The planting is natural and full of native species. This is a perfect example of the drifts and masses that I previously mentioned. Drifts bring a wilder and less planned look to landscapes while still maintaining aesthetic appeal. When native plants are grouped together as such, it also prevents many invasive species and weeds, allowing for less constant maintenance to the space. I've also included a circular bench at the center of the pathway roundabout, since there was not previously any permanent seating at the site. Because this site will not only be used as a community meeting space, but also rented out for special events and weddings, the client wanted to make the lookout deck a focal point of the site. This is the current condition of the deck that overlooks the water, temporarily sanctioned off with fencing. I thought that added railing as well as an arch would bring something special to the site. This arch could have vines growing on it or be left bare for people that rent the venue out to add floral arrangements. For added accessibility, I've included a raised boardwalk that leads up to the viewpoint, which trails through the site. It loops around to preserve open space in the main gathering space of Snee-oosh Point. In the parking lot, I've narrowed the entrance, as well as added a few California hazelnut trees for privacy, added canopy, and framing of the site. Something noted by the Snee-oosh Land Company board was wanting to disguise the sewer vaults, so I've added some California hazelnut trees near there as well. Much of the signage around the property says things such as private property, no trespassing, and other signs with similar sentiments. I've recommended that the signage be removed and replaced with educational interpretive signage. In this mock-up, I've included a map of the site and surrounding islands, as well as information about keeping the bay clean. I think that signage like this around the property will allow for education, preservation, and a more aesthetically pleasing environment. Other signage could educate folks on the pollinator gardens, different wildlife in the area, and other informational topics. Research has revealed that interpretive signage can help to manage the negative impacts of tourism, such as on-site environmental damage, changes to the wildlife behavior, pollution, and vandalism caused by visitors, through providing visitors with information. And that interpretive signage can also enhance visitors' understanding of conservation issues and develop a positive environmental attitude. Interpretive signage is one way in which I found environmental stewardship can elevate community cohesion in the neighborhood and switch the narrative from exclusionary private land to land that requires stewardship to enjoy. The client explained that alterations would be implemented in a piecemeal way for economical reasons, so part of my research was coming up with a way in which community members could work together as a collective to make most of the changes on the site and keep up with maintenance of the site as a collective as well. The idea of collaborative landscape planning and management is similar to community gardens, in that stakeholders will be responsible for a large part of upkeep and gardening. The aim of this is to continuously involve stakeholders in the planning and upkeep of their shared environment in an effort to maintain a social ecological connection. This type of active land management could also prepare residents for future environmental hazards by becoming more familiar with community members and developing more shared knowledge of their environment. The site does not exist in a vacuum, meaning that the area around it and the social infrastructure that it's located within is as valuable to its success as the site itself. Community and neighborhood activation can be done in a number of ways. but my research has focused around social connection and environmental stewardship. Snee-oosh Point is in a rural area which is comparatively not as rich with amenities. Research has proven that Americans who live in communities with little access to amenities have a far greater likelihood of feeling socially isolated. These feelings of connectedness to the neighborhood are positively correlated with neighborhood safety and the chance that neighbors will reach out during disaster to each other. These amenities end up serving as social infrastructure and facilitate positive interactions between residents. As evidence points towards the healthiness of amenity-rich neighborhoods, but developing formal amenities such as a library or a coffee shop are not readily available for countless reasons, I will be recommending that this neighborhood create comparable low-barrier amenities. This can be done through using underutilized facilities for block parties, garage sales, community events, or adding low-cost additions like a community message board. You can think of these as neighborhood water coolers. I've also created mock-ups of opportunities for community building in the neighborhood, like this little free library and a pantry, so that community members could use this as a place to meet up and share. In this next month, I'll be introducing my proposal to the board at the Snee-oosh Land Company and receiving feedback on proposed changes to the site. I'm really looking forward to seeing how my design might play out in the potential implementation process. Working on this project has made me more aware of how green spaces can be holistically designed. It was a wonderful opportunity being able to contribute meaningfully to a community that I'm based out of, and giving a deep analysis of how a neighborhood and the land that it's on can be activated. All of this has really made me excited for all of the work that I'll be doing in the future. Thank you.